This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a new edition of False Starts with Bill Blank and myself, Chris Shipley, with special guest John Bush joining us tonight. We are broadcasting from Bill's brand new bar. So we are testing out the equipment, see how it sounds. So welcome, everybody. Bill, John, how you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. And,
Well,
I'm just turning off my green screen right now, and I think I'm. Oh wait, that's not supposed to be good.
You can tell we're real professionals around here. Dan
Hi, I'm good. I'm
Dan
here.
McCartney called me and Tim professionals. I don't know about me and Bill and joins us. So again, episode 18, sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. I gave a brief introduction, John, but Bill, why don't you tell who John is and bring him on the show?
well, yeah, John's a fellow comic, a friend for at least, God, it's been almost 20 years at this point. Yeah, close, right?
Well,
Yeah, we met. I'd say we met around when I was
2003.
about 25-ish.
Yeah.
So we've been friends for 20 plus years at this point. John was a mentor early on, just became a really close friend, and we've actually been on the road together and talked about our mental health pretty openly with each other many different times. So kind of a natural fit to have John on. Some of you might have saw him in Triple Espresso.
Okay.
If you
That's
is that what you're trying to figure out?
That's where I know him from.
Bobby Bean?
Yes. My wife and I went to that a couple of years ago. So
There you go.
that was the blue
Pre-COVID.
guy.
that was pre-COVID.
I wore a blue jacket. I'm the blue guy.
The blue guy. Bush, do you want to maybe give a little background to our audience about you, where you came from?
Well,
What got you to this point in your life?
Well, it got me to this point. I did that play. I left New York. I was living in the New York comedy scene in the late '90s, and I just got. I now look back and realize, I was like, it was too expensive to live there. That was the main thing. But then also there was this play that came along, and it was a big yes and a sea of no's, because an audition you get no. I'm like, you guys are wrong. I'm fucking hilarious. So I went and did this play that was good, steady money, and it brought me eventually to toured all over and internationally, and it came to Des Moines. And then it was a 6-week run, and it turned a year and 4 months. Met my wife. This is 2002. Met my wife and said, well, maybe I can do it from here and stay here and afford my life. And so I do corporates and some comedy clubs, but really corporates. And I love my life here in Des Moines.
Well, it's a nice city to live in. It's certainly
So
cheaper than where you were before.
Oh, I went back to New York in 2015 to do Gotham Comedy Live, and I was like, oh my God, how did I ever? Now it's gotten more expensive, but I was like, how did I ever even begin to do this? Well, it was beg, borrowing, and stealing is what it was, and I didn't want to live that life anymore.
Yeah.
Borrowing money I was never going to pay back, and
Constant. I think about. I wouldn't have been able to build this bar if I lived anywhere else.
Right.
That's for sure.
Right.
I couldn't.
You might be able to live in just the bar.
Just the bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to have a futon over there that
Mhm.
folded out, but I'd have all my TVs.
That's all you need.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty happy with it. It's everybody comes over on Sundays and we watch all the
I
football.
like that it's cozy too.
Yeah.
It's not too big.
It's my it's my 3-season porch, so it's separate from the house. It comes off of this wall over here is the back of the house actually. And so this is like its own room, little space heater will heat it up. There's no and
You don't have to build any vents to it.
no, in the summertime I'll just open the door
Yeah.
to the house and
Yeah.
probably be enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah. So thank you guys for coming, and and I'm having a little Revelton, our sponsor,
Shout out to Revelton. That's
Shout out to Revelton. I got
It's
some
nice
of
to have a
the
sponsor, and it's a cool sponsor.
Revelton whiskey and cream liqueur.
How did we get a hold of
A
Revelton
little
to do
ice.
this? Do you know somebody at the place?
So I grew up with Rob and Christy, the owners. Rob and Christy went to high school with them. Rob always jokes and likes to say he was a state representative here. So he's the epitome of truth that politics will drive you to drink.
Yeah.
So he decided to open up a distillery. They went on a Kentucky Bourbon Trail
Wow.
tour and fell in love with it and bought a place down in Osceola and turned it around. They opened 2 months before COVID. So that was the perfect time to open up a distillery. So, because everybody, you'd stay home, all you can do is drink. So
Yeah.
that worked out
Wow.
well. But when Tim and Aaron and I opened up and started doing Three Beards Media, Rob had told me a couple months before, he's like, listen, if you go out on your own, let me know, because we'll support you. And they've been our partner ever since. So,
That's exciting.
yeah.
And have you ever been able to record one of these at Revelton?
So Tim and I did one for Old Man Strength when we were with the other group in 2021, late 2021. We did one over there, down there. And it was fun. But actually, Three Beards Media is going to put on a big multi-podcast December 9th down there. So we're going to have everybody from the pods down there. We'll do a 10, 15-minute segment. We're going to raise some money for the Young Women's Resource Center down there.
Incredible.
So December 9th, we're going to launch some details here in a couple days. So
I was thinking about the pandemic. We're talking about pandemic and like how I look back on it. I'm now multiple income stream guy.
yeah,
And that happened really because it forced my hand. The pandemic did, and I'm really glad. I mean, I'm not saying it was good, whatever. It's a pandemic, good or bad or whatever. But made a lot of changes in people's lives, positive or negative. But there were a lot of really interesting things like that came out of it that are now just part of life. The amount of food delivery, all these things.
right, yeah,
Multiple income stream guy is also a guy I always kind of wanted to be,
Me too.
but I had so much of my identity wrapped up in stand up
Mhm.
that everything that I did outside of stand up felt like I was failing. Like I feel like I struggled a lot financially, and it's affected relationships obviously and all that, but I feel like I struggled more than I needed to financially, just purely because I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to be able to say I didn't do anything else.
Right.
And
I remember that bill, because in New York, I dated a girl named Marta, and she was like, she said to me one day, she just changed everything for me.
yeah,
She goes, she changed my perspective. And so the two things changed my perspective on
This
that.
is the Clark Kent story, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what it is as I had a temp during the day, and she goes, yeah, that's your Clark Kent to your nightly Superman when you're a comedian on stage. Yeah, that's how you do that. You do that, both feed each other. That's how you do it.
sure,
And the second thing was, I was at an audition that I couldn't go to because my temp job was the guy signing in all my buddies in the comedian world who I would have gone to the audition.
okay,
My job was to sign them into the audition, and none of them even blinked. They came and go, hey, Bush, what do I sign up? Chris Maloney at the time was just starting Law and Order, and he was up for what? And hey, John, and I knew Chris Maloney a little bit because a little bit of the stand-up world kind of touched some of the stuff he did. But I mean, all these people that I was like, didn't want them to see me temping, and all they did was go, hey, man, what's going on?
Yeah.
It was like, I realized, nobody has time to give a shit, and nobody gives a shit. And
Yeah.
everybody
and half
knows
of them are in
it's
the
hard.
same boat as you anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, that's I remember having that conversation with you back then, and I remember you telling me that, Clark, and it helped at the time.
Yeah.
And then here comes COVID, here comes all these life changes, and I'm going through basically an identity crisis.
Sure.
And since then, basically it forced my hand too. I wanted to keep my house after my divorce, so I ended up having to do a lot of things. 3 years later, I'm really glad it all happened.
Yeah, you make good money in that day job.
Yeah, and it's all
Killer.
it's all mine.
Yeah, you could be built
Like-
on your terms. too.
Yes,
Right.
100%.
You get to be built on your terms.
100%. And that And also I also think I had to be that other guy for a long time in order to feel like I earned this.
Yeah, sure.
Like I earned the right, because, you know, early in my career, I would have been angry at people who were clogging up the market, so to speak. But I don't feel like I'm a guy that's doing that when I work,
You
because
mean people not fully committing to
right.
Yeah.
Right. People that aren't fully committed. It's like, well, I was fully committed for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
So I can take a step back and do what I want, you know.
You know, it's funny you guys are talking about how COVID affected you guys and how it's changed your life, and you feel like you're probably in a better
Yeah.
spot. I'm in the exact opposite.
I'll be right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep going, but my computer's going to die. I have to go.
We talked about that.
let me know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this before, and 2020, I was in a job that I absolutely loved. I had great friends. I was working out. Everything was, and my life isn't bad now. I don't want it to come off that way, but since I've been and we just lost Bill's mic, so I'm going to turn mine on real quick here. Because the computer died. That's what happens.
So you want to turn it on?
Yep, my mic is
Oh, wow.
on. So, yep. So, and we'll just double check here because we're professional around here. Yes, it's working. All right, there we go. So, so really what happened was I was telling Bill before we started recording, I said I went and saw my therapist the other day because I've been going to see a therapist. I've just been kind of sad. I don't feel like I've gained a ton of weight. I mean, in the middle of 2020, I was probably down to 250 pounds. I felt great. And as I was telling Bill, I said, I just, like, there was a guy 6 years ago when I got cancer that wasn't going to let anything beat me. I'll be damned if it was going to win. I accomplished everything that I wanted to do. And then this last 11 months, I'm not sure where that guy's at.
Right now, that's all you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he's at. I know he's possible, but I lost a job in January, and that completely destroyed any confidence I had.
Yeah.
And then, just this weight and everything else, I told my therapist, I said, the guy that saved me during cancer, I'm not sure where that fucking guy's at right now. I'm just not.
Well, and maybe, so I'm just freeballing here. I'm freeballing.
Free balling. Okay, well,
Is,
we're on the wrong podcast for that, John.
Is it that seek not that because that dude was back then and it's a new version of that dude that is in the future, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's evolved. I just need to find that internal fire that lit that spark. And I think I found it because as I was telling Bill, I left that therapist and he told me, he said, well, two things. My wife asked me a couple of days before, she said, when do you feel like you felt the best physically and mentally? And I said, probably when I was holding myself accountable, going to the gym every day, and I was eating right, and I at least felt good. So when I went to saw a therapist, we were talking about things, and he said, maybe what you need to do is just pick one thing. Pick one thing to hold yourself accountable for every 2 weeks, or every week, or whatever. And I left him. And I drove right over to my therapist's office. And that was it. So
That's really cool. So wait, did we get this mic back going?
we're gonna check right now.
Yeah, we're good.
He turned yours off and went.
Oh, gotcha. Good. Okay, I was gonna say we lost it. Good.
There's a song right now that you should listen to.
Yeah.
We could do it on the podcast. Semisonic of Closing Time. They have a new song out called "Little Bit of Sun," and it's so good because it's Dan Wilson explaining the writing of it. He goes, "Oh, I love the song Tom Petty stuff." And he goes, "We want to do a Tom Petty song." And he goes, He goes, "Little Bit of Sun is this. I don't need a lot of hope. I just want a little hope. Can you give me a little hope? I don't need all the good news in the world. Can you just give me a little good news?
Right.
Can you tell me today we made a little bit of the progress?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You should listen to that.
And that's perfect.
Fantastic
Because
song.
I was sitting there last Thursday before I went to actually meet with the therapist
Mhm.
or with the nutritionist. And I remember I was going to write out a post, and I remember just thinking, I just need a win right now.
You just need a win. Hey, can I get a coaster? I don't want to screw
So
Sure.
right here, you go.
Thank you.
So
And
So
then he
all
goes
the
to the
things-
Iowa State Kansas
and
game.
then I went to the Iowa State Kansas. It was completely that's a whole other topic. I had a storm last night. Later those grievances out.
Yeah, no, that is yeah. And it's especially tough headed into winter with this kind of, I don't need to be a Debbie Downer, but going into winter with any kind of sadness, I was thinking the other day, but this is why daylight savings makes me crazy.
Yeah.
It's because I believe humans are we have the gear on us, generally speaking, to deal with the winter blues. Some better than others.
Yeah.
Right? But fast forwarding a little bit in November does not help. And I believe that I think there has been some science that says that exacerbates people who already will have seasonal affective disorder.
I had a conversation with Caitlin the other night, and she was talking about wanting to. I jokingly said, if you're putting your Christmas tree up before Thanksgiving, you're a fucking Nazi. And she's like, hello, my seasonal depression. If it makes me happy and it means I get 8 weeks of happiness instead of 4, I'm putting my fucking Christmas tree up.
Yeah. So
You fucking Nazi.
That's right.
Well, go ahead. You be happy, you fucking Nazi.
That's right.
Hitler was pretty happy before it all was said and done, wasn't he?
That was probably
Everything was
top.
going well for
That was
him.
probably
what was the Gilbert Gottfried joke of Stalin, Mussolini, and some other Hirohito were playing poker, and Hitler walks in 5 minutes later. They all give him a bad look and goes, "Oh, so I'm the bad guy now."
I miss that guy. Gilbert Gottfried was great.
But yeah.
Is there something though? Okay, so daylight savings time as it relates to seasonal depression. Is that not the same thing as being like, I gotta be careful what I joke about because of that one person?
No, what I'm thinking about it is they know that heart attacks, they know that a bunch of health things happen when, say, daylight savings happens. It messes people up. I believe, I think I have seen a white paper that talks about how it does exacerbate seasonal blues. Like it makes, because people are generally speaking built to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Because people have been on this planet and have gone through you know what I mean?
Where are we saving the daylight at? Is my question.
In the morning, right?
In the morning, right? I mean, we're just doing it so that it's light. So it really comes down to, like, you don't want kids waiting for the bus in the dark,
Right.
more or less.
Or farming. It's a farming thing too.
Right, but I don't think the farming thing really matters anymore.
It's winter.
They can work their own hours.
Well, and
I mean,
and I don't know.
I'm pretty
That's true,
sure.
they can make their own.
I'm pretty sure the farmer gets to decide when he
I'm
starts
pretty
his
sure farmers-
day.
Well, I know they farm. There's stuff you got to still feed the cows and all that.
Sure,
But you're not
yeah.
doing anything with the crops.
Yeah, you can do your own kind of daylight savings time.
Yeah.
And by the way, aren't the farmers' kids supposed to be the tough ones? They can't wait for the bus in the fucking dark.
That's right. Well, it's the little kids, I think.
No, I'm just joking.
But, yeah.
But I mean, that's really all there is, right?
So Bill has had panic attacks, and I've had one
Yeah.
panic attack. And this is the kind of thing that I talk about with like what you're going through and what people go through with. And again, I'm not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, or an expert on mental health. But one thing I think it really hurts people is their inability to go. Even though I've never experienced that, I acknowledge that it must be real. Like
Yes.
I had a panic attack. A guy named Danny Jacobs before I had a panic attack, right before a show of Triple Espresso. I had a panic attack. He's like, I can't go out there. And they had to cancel the show because there's no understudies, especially at short notice. And Bill came to me, Bill, another
Not this bill.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it. It's like fucking, get tough and get out there.
Man up, man.
Yeah.
You got a job to do.
And I said, well, Bill, well, I've never had a panic attack. You've never had a panic attack. So I don't think you can empathize.
Right. Yep.
But you can go, you know what? I'm going to trust that you are
Right.
Yeah. And when I had one, I was like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
That is the most debilitating thing I've ever had.
It's how old were you when you?
I had one because it was so funny. I had done a triple espresso of the play. We get back to talking about this play. I've done 3,500 times. And at this point, I had done Des Moines and I had done all this run, and it was time to get back to my stand-up, and I could kind of feel it. And I remember there was a 4-week run in the Twin Cities of it, and it was really steady, good money. And I was like, I was being offered a 4-week run. I was like, well, I think I can do 3, but it was starting to get weird. I was starting to freak out that my mouth was saying the lines and my mind was somewhere else. I started wondering on stage, I would see somebody like of a race or something, and I'd think my brain's gonna go, don't say your lines, say, look at that blank in the crowd. I'd get afraid and break out a sweat because I thought Tourette's was gonna take over because my mouth was used to this thing. And so then one night, right, second act, we're on stage 100% of the time. It was played for 2 hours. And I went on stage, and all of a sudden I had a full-on panic attack. The whole act, I somehow got through it, but it was the scariest thing I've ever had happen in my life. And but it was just, it was repetitive. It was the weirdness of doing a show 3,500 times. Or whatever. You can't say what it was.
Right.
Just shit comes out.
There's absolutely, that's what sucks about it, is there's no rhyme or reason for when it comes up. I've gotten to where I've dealt with it frequently enough in my life that I've always looked at my anxiety as time has gone on as somewhat of a superpower. I don't know if you've ever been around me in a crisis. I don't really think you have, and
Not really.
like anything really, but I've always remained very calm when shit's hitting the fan.
Right.
And I think it's because of the anxiety of that. I don't want to say everyday life because I don't experience anxiety every day. I've gone through periods where I'd say for a year after my divorce, I woke up every morning with at least a little bit of anxiety.
Right.
It took a long time to go away. But I think because of that, when something actually major comes on, my focus goes straight to solutions, and my mind just goes really quickly through whatever. I think it's because of that.
You also told me before that you feel like what use is panicking.
Yeah. Well, in a crisis, like for example, this would come off as apathy to my ex-wife, where maybe there's some stuff financially, that's a little worrisome or a little stressful, right? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? I never had any urgency. I never felt any stress over it. I just had kind of faith that it would work out.
Yeah. And
I would just focus on solutions, and, she would be freaking out. And I would say all the time, like, name me one problem in the history of the world that got solved by freaking out about it.
Right.
It's never been beneficial to anyone ever.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm able to focus like that, but I can have a panic attack for absolutely no reason. Like somebody could run across a parking lot and it will look weird for 2 seconds, and all of a sudden my mind starts racing about how weird that looked, and then what do I look weird when I run like that? And fucking just all of a sudden intense fear sets in that doesn't go away. But I've never the most recent one I had was a few years ago, like a full-on anxiety attack where I froze like solid. And I was at a bar. I'd never had one publicly like that. I was in a bar and they all thought I was drunk and gonna puke, and they were telling everybody to get me out of there and all this shit. So I finally had to just say I was having an anxiety attack. But I couldn't even get those words out of my mouth. I mean, I was dead on frozen.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and that happened for absolutely no reason.
Well, I mean, we talked about it that last Thursday. I was perfectly fine. I mean, there were some things going on, but it wasn't anything more than what I had been dealing with any other day. And it was, I think at some point I was like, I'm just going to write this out, how I'm feeling. I'm just going to write this out. And I wasn't going to post it or anything like that. And I wrote it out and I read it 2 or 3 times and I started to tear up and then started crying. And I mean, I was like, I had my head in my hands and I was like, just sobbing. And I finally had to get up away from the table. It was probably 5 minutes. And I had to get up from the table and just go upstairs and kind of shake myself out of it. But I'd never done that before. And I've done it twice now since I went and started talking to a therapist. And I think it's more, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's more
It's probably good. It's probably
relieving some, and I'm processing some things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Did you feel like you were processing things when you started crying, or did you think it came out of nowhere? Did you feel like it came out of nowhere?
I felt like it came out of nowhere, but I wasn't surprised because I had done it a week before. Now that first time when I was just sitting on the couch on my lunch break and I was watching TV and I was, again, I was by myself. I, am home all day, with nobody there. I thrived so much when I was in an office working where I could talk to my coworkers. We bullshit back and forth. I'm working all day. I'm getting all my shit done, but I'm having a good time, or we're joking about this or we're laughing about that. And just not having that is really hard.
I don't do well with too much free time.
Oh, I don't have any problem with free time. Like if I didn't have to work, I'd be fine with it.
Really?
But
I don't do good with too much downtime.
But it's.
But you could go you could spend your day having your social life.
But by me sitting at that desk, working by myself, and not having anybody to even have a conversation with, and it's been 3 years, and it's really hard. So, and I don't see an out because the job that I have is not ever gonna. It's not gonna.
It's not gonna go back to the office.
No, it's a small little company that doesn't have.
They don't want the overhead.
They don't want the
building.
overhead, and I totally understand it. And we all can do our job without being there. You know what I mean? And so.
Yeah, but I bet you're peeling the onion with the therapist.
I think so too. I am too. Yeah, because we've talked about quite a few things. So, and I feel better, and I feel like I have a little better relationship with the boys since the last couple of weeks, and I'm learning even being on this podcast. Like when you guys talked about empathy and how what a panic attack, if you had one before, you know what I mean? Josh, my son, gets really bad anxiety sometimes. And a few years ago, as he got older, I would think to myself, he's going to grow out of that. And he hasn't. And I would find myself going, come on, like you're 18 years old now. This is enough of this. You know what I mean? Whereas now, we went on vacation earlier this year and we went to Disneyland. And 4 years ago, I probably would have been upset because he didn't want to go on a bunch of rides. This time I was like, listen, dude, whatever you want to do, if you get upset because you don't want to ride on a ride, nobody's going to make you ride on a ride. It's your vacation too.
No, it's so interesting. I feel like that's like,
and you just kind of like, I looked at it kind of like what you said, like, I don't know what having bad anxiety like that is for. It's part of him. So,
but if you take the step, empathy, and if you take the step in life to kind of go, well, let me try to, like, for instance, my wife and I've never been parents, but there was one day when I saw Brad, my neighbor, and his wife and their kid, and Brad's kid was starting to get on a little motorcycle. He's a motorcycle guy. I was like, oh man, and it wasn't just cool, the kid's doing what he used to do. I went, oh, it must be like reliving your childhood to have your kid, and it must tie you back to the memory of yourself by doing. I had this moment where I went, oh, that probably is a little bit. I tried to understand what it's like to be a parent, and I probably was right. So I said, Brad, is it like you're kind of not reliving, but remembering when you experienced that?
Right.
It's like, totally, that's what's cool about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing when I found out my son was going to be a boy, the very first thing I thought was, I can't wait to play catch with him when he can actually catch the ball and
That's
throw
cool.
it back
That's
to me.
cool.
Yeah.
Like that first time, and I mean, that's all I did was play baseball with him.
And I know that's like a no-brainer, but I'm
Yeah.
not a parent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, but I could freely associate and go, well, you know, you can link to it. Just
yeah,
use your brain a little bit, you know.
sure.
Yeah.
But that's you making a conscious effort to understand something. I don't think that.
Which is what we should do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that most people do that, kind of in general.
No.
Like, you know how when people lose their shit, like the gotcha culture of watching somebody melt down and filming it. I'm like, so glad on some of my meltdowns in
yeah.
New York. I'm so glad they didn't have a camera on me because I'd be fucking canceled. I won't get into it, but I've had bad days where I lost my shit.
Sure.
And this whole thing of, oh, look, somebody's melting. Somebody's falling down. It bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me want to persecute the filmer or the person
Sure.
filming me, you know.
Well, what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, what are you whacking off to?
Normally,
Exactly.
why don't you put the fucking phone down and help?
Mm-hmm.
You thought your first instinct was to film it while this
Yeah.
poor fucking guy's suffering?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I was talking about this. I mean, we've addressed this on here many a times, but I was talking about this with my therapist yesterday, how my face looks and how I'm being more
You're with who?
my therapist
Okay.
yesterday. I'm being more cognizant now of, and you've known me long enough to know this about me, that the slightly annoyed, passionate, and I'm gonna kill you all looks the same on my face. And so if I'm pissed off and I'm passionately, because part of my problem, and I have a friend that's the same way, and it's the way my stepdad was. When I'm pissed and I'm just, I've never lost control of myself physically.
Right.
I've lost control of my mouth, and I still do sometimes.
I've done that.
But when I'm spouting off, I say a lot of funny shit.
Yeah.
And so, like,
We talked about this.
yeah, like my friends will be laughing while I'm acting like an asshole.
Right.
And so I take offense to people assuming I don't like getting treated like the guy that looks like a loose cannon, because I know I'm not a loose cannon. But my face looks like I am a loose cannon.
How many times have you had to tell somebody, I'm not mad, but if you keep asking me, it's going to piss me off?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that has definitely been something that's happened to me in my life for
It's
sure.
happened to me quite a bit.
There was a couple times though,
You're like, I'm not mad.
where Bill,
I am now.
like Bill was defending Gwen's honor or somebody's honor downtown one night. And boy, I don't know if you guys got a physical thing, but I remember saying, Bill, we don't live in the old west. I was saying, Bill, the old west, you can't go, you
Can't go 10
you can't go
paces.
insulting people, and it wasn't.
10
I don't remember
paces
what
in the
it
middle
was.
of Port Avenue.
I believe that was the night that Scott, God rest his soul.
He's still with us, Scott.
You didn't know that Scott died?
Recently, Scott died?
Mm-hmm.
Scotty, the
Old bartender, Funny Bone.
Oh no. Okay, wait. So what? The guy who went and owned a vintage stuff store? What he died?
He just died several weeks ago. I'll tell
Maybe
you
we'll
off
tell
the
out.
air.
Yeah. Oh my God, Scott.
I went to his funeral.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, I think it was the night. This is a good example.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, this is a good example because I did, in a way, In a way, I did.
There's always cut that gets in there.
Right.
See if you bring up charcuterie board.
So,
By the way, I have a puzzle at my house. It's a charcuterie board. It's a puzzle jigsaw. I'm going to do it.
okay, so we'll get. I think it was the night that this guy, I did in a way lose control physically this time. But it was calculated, so I don't consider it losing control.
Right.
Scott was a guy that would say funny, he would get really trashed and talk shit and say funny shit, not meaning anything by it, but guys would want to fight him.
Right.
And I would regularly.
And he was not a strong person.
No, he was a skinny. So it was a perfect target.
Sure.
Like he would say shit that if I would have said it, they wouldn't have done anything.
Right.
Or said anything.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And not because I'm a big tough guy, just because I don't. He was just an easy target. Right.
Yep.
And so that would happen kind of on a regular basis. Well, one night we're at Fong's and everybody comes running inside. That some dude this guy outside had slapped him. So I go outside and this guy, and this is why I don't feel like I don't feel bad. This guy was like fucking 6'6", 6'7", right? And he's got another guy with him, and it looked literally like that fucking, and they're both drunk, you know. And it literally looked like that fucking Big Dog, Little Dog cartoon, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Like the little guy just going, yeah, you know. So it had that whole vibe to it. And I just like said to the guy, I'm like, did you slap him? And, you know, I'm just like, what the fuck you slapping him for? You're a monster.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's bullying shit. So all my triggers are firing right now. And then the little guy goes, well, did you see him slap him? Well, that just tells me he did. So now I know he slapped him.
Yeah.
So I just fucking, what? I just reach up. I didn't even have to jump to slap him. And I slap him like 3 fucking times. And I'm just, yeah. And I'm just like, fight back, bitch, so I can fucking kill you. And I'm just like, whap, and I'm just yelling at him. And so they walk through, they walk away or whatever. And of course I'm, you know, yeah, walk away, motherfucker. And come to find out he was an off-duty cop. So he probably could have killed me if he wanted to, just the training.
Sure. Yeah.
And I probably knew he couldn't.
Right.
Because he would have gotten in trouble because he was hammered and out or whatever.
And his buddies probably were like, we probably need to get him out of here.
Yeah, let's get out.
Yeah.
And also, in the moment, though, he's not on duty.
Right.
And to me, okay.
He's no different than you.
He's a bully. That's why he's a fucking cop. Because he's a bully. That's who he is. That's why he slapped him, you know? Right. Fuck you. So, all those guys they're not used to people not being scared of them.
Right.
So as soon as somebody's not scared of them, they have no fucking idea how to handle it.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember Bush, it's not the Old West, you get it. And I just said, I remember I go, yeah, but I was like, some guys though, that's the only language they speak.
Sure.
Like some guys, you just you can just tell.
And at some point, you'll just get to that point in your life where you don't end up in those situations anymore.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
You'll never be in that deal.
Probably not. Yeah. But who knows? I'm an idiot. Like
some people don't grow out of it.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it I don't know. I mean,
no, that was.
I have this massive, like, overinflated sense of justice, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And so, like, when something's unfair, when the little guy's getting picked on, like,
you'll go to that.
Can't let it
go.
You'll go to that and go.
Yeah.
Because I've been that guy too. I've been the guy that picked on people.
Right.
Because, like, And I hate,
there's no.
Yeah.
I hate that about myself that was ever. So in a way, I'm fighting myself when that
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
Like I want to beat up the old me. So like I want to beat that fucking bully's ass.
And I think that's part of good growth because, like, you know, there's a place I'm every once in a while when this redemption center in Iowa for cans and bottles is open. I manage it and I deal with customers, and so I have these kids that work under me, and they're like kids. When I say kids, I mean they're out of high school, they're not going to college, but they're like 19.
Sure.
And so I'm always almost everything I do. I lock the till if I go to the bathroom. And I was telling somebody, one of the kids went, "Well, why do you lock the till?" And I go, "Well, because you asked just now."
Yeah.
I go, because I know me when I was you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not doing this because I think I'm better than you or whatever than you.
Yeah.
I know what I used to be like.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing, you know, especially when you tell young people something like that, you're not insulting them. You're going, no.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
My
job, one of my jobs in my senior year of high school, I worked at Donut Land, which they just reopened a donut. They just opened one in Urbandale.
It has to be the name of your life story. Donut Land. Fill blank. Donut Land. My life and times.
And I worked from like 5 to 9 at night.
Yeah.
And so I threw out all the donuts. The bakers were coming in for the next day's donuts when I was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so every night that I worked, my friends would stop by, and my first job was Quick Trip. So at Quick Trip, you had to learn how to count back change. The register didn't tell you to give them back.
Yeah.
So I learned how to count back change. So my friends would come in, and I would give them $20 out of the register and tell them to go out and get a sack of weed and come back and pick me up when I got off work.
Yeah.
And then I would just say that I threw away more donuts than I did. And I knew how much everything.
You figured out the donut to weed ratio.
Yeah. And I knew, hold on.
Perfect.
And I knew.
Fucking perfect.
And I also knew how much everything cost. Like, I knew every night that I worked, there was this old couple that would come in and they would get like a half a dozen donuts and a little thermos of coffee thing, and they'd sit there. And it was like, the total I think was like $265, and they would give you $5.
Sure.
And there's this regular like $265. And so I would just hit the no sell. I'd hit some bullshit buttons, hit the no sell button, give them their change back, and then let it accumulate. And the drawer would actually be over by the end of the night. So they'd fucking go get some weed and come back, and they'd always, we called it Uncle Dave Donut Land.
It goes into the
get $20 from Uncle Dave.
The flaw in that whole deal is you didn't keep the donuts too much on leave.
That's what you don't even get. Do you think I didn't walk out of there with donuts on top of all that? I just said I threw away. I said I threw away more than I did. No, my fucking. If you look at my senior, I could even go find it right now, but it'll take too long. My senior year, my yearbook, my senior year, I was in student council, and our home room was student council. That's what. So first class of the morning every day, and so in the student council yearbook picture, everybody's got a donut. Because I would just bring donuts to school the next day.
You figured it out, man. You know what? You had your hustle.
Yeah, kind of. The thing was, with anything like that, you can't get greedy.
Right.
Like I didn't get greedy.
Right,
I just
right.
kept it simple. I just got my sack of weed out of it.
You take it too far.
Like, and everything was
You want to
good.
bridge too far. You know what's funny about knowing yourself? This is one. I'll try to make the story brief. There's a comic who shall remain nameless that annoyed everybody when they would work with him out of the scene. He like literally burnt every bridge in this town. I used to bring him on the road with me, and I wouldn't bring him on the road with me anymore because he was just went too long, was disrespectful, was late, was awful. Okay. Anyway, and Bill had worked with this guy a lot too. And we're not saying his name out of respect. Nobody's heard from him for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Okay. Well, one time I was with the new guy I was bringing on the road. It was Tim Shifsky. I was bringing him on the road all the time.
He's a little shifty.
Yeah. And Tim was in the car with me. And this other comedian was at the comedy festival, and he had not advanced through the first round. And he knew that I was bringing Tim on the road with me. And Tim got a call from this guy, and he's like, "Oh, hey man, Colleen," because apparently Tim, my guy I was working with at the time, had a problem, had some kind of little issue with Colleen, who owns the Omaha Funny, but not a big thing. But this comedian got it. I was listening to this conversation. Tim's going, "You what? What, dude? No, you shouldn't. What the fuck? No, I can handle my own." Hangs up the phone. Doug said he went up to. Oh fuck it, Doug said. He goes. Doug said, "I'll just okay." He said, "I went up to Colleen and I talked to her for you, and everything's fine." And I'm driving, and he said this to me, and I go, "Oh, he's lying." And he's like, "How do you know he's lying?" I go, "Because Colleen would never talk about anybody's business
To him.
or anybody else but the person she would talk to."
Mm-hmm. That's not who she is at all.
That's not who she is. And I also know she has a huge disrespect thing for him. She really doesn't.
Really like.
Right. So, and I go, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna call me. You're gonna get to your hotel room. You're gonna call me and say, 'Hey, Doug, thank you so much. I owe Colleen a call anyway. I'm gonna call her and thank you, and I'm gonna tell her about your conversation with her. And thank you for that. And I'm gonna let her know that thanks for that Doug took it from here, and I'll take it from there, and we'll be fine. He's gonna lose his fucking shit because he's lying to you, right?'" Okay, so he goes, okay. So we go to the hotel. All of a sudden, there's a knock at my door, and I open the door, and Tim's really tall, and I look up at Tim and go, and he's like looking down at me, going, "Dude, he's losing his shit." And I go, "I know." He's like, "How'd you fucking know?" And I go, "Because I've been that small before, where I thought if I pulled somebody down, that would pull me up."
Right. Yeah.
I've been there. I've been in a bad place in my life where I've been that guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it. Anyway,
Yep.
Sorry. His name is Doug Johnson. He's a but
Sorry, Doug. That's all right. We're 47 minutes in. Nobody's listening.
but I was like, fucking, I just know the behavior because I'm not talking shit here. I've been that.
It's also such a fake conversation.
right.
Like you can tell the whole tone of it is just it reeks of desperation of, "Hey, I talked to her
Right.
for what?
But you went up and said,
Why?
"Hey,
Why?"
I see. Do you see how I didn't advance in the contest? Also, I want to tell you that Tim Shifsky's a really good person.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? What? No.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It's so funny because Colleen Quinn is
Who
the
owns the funny
manager of
manager.
I may have heard you talk about her before.
She's the best.
with other comics probably.
And she's
She's
famous in the stand-up world.
she's a legend.
Yeah, she's a legend.
Every comic who's worth a shit loves her.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple here and there that aren't fans, but it's because she,
But that would be rare.
yeah, very rare, and it's
People
usually
like Doug.
That's because they call their shit out.
yeah.
Well,
she's
one
a
more-
ball buster.
one
She is a
more-
ball buster. Yeah.
You know the story.
Yes, go
So
ahead.
I was
Oh,
with
you
Billy
can
Farrell, and we were having breakfast in Omaha, and he was MC. And in the middle of breakfast, he goes, "Hey, there's a bunch of people who do Farrell's Fitness or whatever. They live in town here in Gotham or whatever." And he's like, and this is all a workout thing. And he goes, "And they want to come see me next time in town." She goes, "Great." And he goes, "But he was MC, but I'd have to feature, because they don't want to see me for just 10 minutes. And she doesn't look up from her plate and she's cutting her bacon. She goes, "Yeah, well, maybe we'll have you fucking washing dishes."
No, she said, or you can cook the fries.
Yeah, well, I think
Was it
washing
washing dishes? I can't.
I don't know. Maybe we'll just have you fucking wash the dishes. And Willie kicks me under the table. I'm like, shit, and I Yeah. Later, Doug comes into my fucking room in that condo. I think I fucked up with Khalid. And I was like, I'm sorry, are you coming here thinking I'm going to tell you you didn't?
Right.
Yeah.
What comfort are you seeking?
I remember just well, I mean
I don't want to be the final.
yeah, we don't want to keep on too long, but we're talking about a guy that threw his own roast. Like it,
And I wrote, and he had become an Uber driver, and I had wrote a joke for Bill. Right?
I don't remember.
I think it was hey, Doug is also an Uber driver. But, don't want to get in his car. It takes forever to get there because of all the burnt bridges.
That's right. You have to go around. Just go around all the burnt bridges.
Yeah. Anyway.
This is a good spot. Let's take a break. We'll get a word from Revelton, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up here with John Bush and Bill Blank.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot-tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning spirits at any local grocery or spirits retailer.
All right, this is great. Thank you very much, guys. Again, shout out to Revelton Distilling Company. Make sure you guys go check them out. Pick up their spirits anywhere, Hy-Vee, Fairway, wherever, and then check out their tasting room down in Osceola. So, John, you were talking to Bill here about some pre-show conversation that you guys had. Why don't we dive into that?
Well, okay, so this goes into like, boy, what a year last year. So it started in December. So in October of last year, we lose a cat. We lost a cat, Jaco, and so Jaco's gone. Now there's two cats. So in the house, there's my wife and myself, Jaco, Lucian. Jaco was found under a Jaco trailer. Saved him, and he was our buddy. Okay, and then there's Lucian, and Lucian's older, and then there's Nina, the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And in October we lose Nina, then Jaco. And by the way, when my wife loses the cats, I honestly I love the cats. No, I don't.
You're indifferent.
Indifferent.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked having them around. They were cool, but I no, there's no
Mourning a cat is different than mourning a dog.
My God.
It's
I
just-
don't. Yeah, I didn't mourn.
And I was give a shit about you anyways.
Well, I was a cat person. I preferred cats before.
Yeah.
I had my own dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm way more of a dog person. And like I've lost a dog now and had to put one down, and it was like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never had a cat. Like a cat almost, it's like the cat crawls under the couch and dies, and you can almost just throw it in the garbage.
I mean, so there's the cat. Right?
Yeah.
We lose the cat in October, the first cat, Jacob, and then my wife's sister had this really aggressive cancer, and she's in her 60s and she dies on Christmas Day, and then so the other cat left is Lucian. Lucian and fucking Nina hate each other. Like I look at TikTok at these goats cuddling with kittens and their dog cuddling with a cow, and I'm like, what? Like in our house, none of this shit. So Lucian is fine. Then Nina dies, and Nina died. She was 13. She died. Like it was really, really hard. Incredible dog. We could go into it, but why? But the minute that Nina died, it was like that cat went downhill. It was like there was nothing to hate anymore. That's what it was like. That hate was fueling that
person. Yeah.
And the cat went downhill and died really, really fast after that. And that was what led to
we were having that conversation.
Right.
And that's kind of what led to me having John on. And I was like, that it's such an interesting thing because everybody talks about love sustaining And if you don't have anybody to love, then that's, you know, people go downhill quick when there's nobody to love. And it's like, you know, hate is also probably strong enough to keep somebody going.
Yeah.
And it was like that cat. It's hatred for the dog kept it alive, and there was no cause, therefore like nothing to live for anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess the way that relates to mental health to me is how we talk about how this isn't a one size fits all thing. And I think that, you know, because everybody goes really hard at this kindness, move on with kindness. And I get that. And that's great. But I think that everybody should do what works for them. And you look at things like how Michael Jordan made up an enemy.
Yeah.
To motivate him so that he would.
Yeah. What was that enemy?
For winning? What at any given time? Just like so he would find some slight, like somebody from they'd be playing the Milwaukee Bucks who fucking suck, and some rookie said that he was excited to guard him or something.
Yes.
And then he's like, okay, fuck that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Like he had to have a villain always. And maybe that's not the healthiest thing in the world, you know, socially or for most people, but it obviously worked for him, and I think he's probably happy.
It's one of the bargains one makes to. It's, you know what I mean? We make deals all the time, every day, all the time. What's going to get us to do something?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A kid one time I was going around Grays Lake, and the kid went, "Ma," and the little innocent kid was so young, and like maybe the first or second thing they would say, "Mommy belly," and look at me, and I was like, "Oh." And I got, you know, I lost some weight after that, and I just kept on going back to the little fucking cake.
Yeah. But you used it for your benefit.
Yes.
In the end, right? And so I think I just thought it was an interesting thing to really kind of discuss or dive into, just because
I could relate to that because of what we were talking about earlier. When I got diagnosed with cancer, I look back now and tell people that was probably the best year of my life, because I learned who I was. I was a fighter. I wasn't a quitter.
You're not a fraud now.
Right. I willed myself to make sure I went to work every day, because I was going to be damned if somebody was going to say this or couldn't do that. And that negativity fueled me to get me through. So I totally relate to that. I think that there's a lot to that. And sometimes you just have to find little nuggets that are going to motivate you, whether it's good things or bad. You know, some people will go, okay, I'm going to go on vacation in 10 months, so I want to lose this amount of money or this amount of pounds so I can go on vacation and look. Whereas somebody else is like, okay, Caitlin's a perfect example. She got her heart broke. She's my daughter.
Okay.
So she's my daughter. And she got her heart broke in 2020. And she used that, and man, it was her whole, she was like, it's going to be my revenge body. I'm going to show that motherfucker. And she went to Farrell's, won $1,000 challenge.
There you go.
Killed it, you know, because she was just like, you know what? Fuck that guy. That was, you know, so things like that.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. The, you know, during my divorce, that was something that I was constantly told, how I just do things to prove people wrong. Like, it's like you just have this thing where somebody tells you you can't do something, you have to show them that you can, and I'm like, that's negative,
right?
Like, what the fuck? Like, since when is that a bad quality in a person?
No, I think that's a survival quality. I think that's, you know.
But then you look at, you know, if she stayed with that guy, would she have went and got that body?
Right.
Would she have bettered herself? Maybe not.
No.
Maybe she would.
No, she's a better person now for going through that.
It's so funny because I told my dad one day, I was like, Dad, that was like, I remember it's like when this girl broke up with me when I was in high school, and I was just like devastated, you know. And he goes, and my dad always just like tells these stories, and I think it's so funny because he was like, I went out with a girl for a long time. She broke up with me. A couple of years later, she looked like fucking shit. And it was like, went into my head is, The worst thing a woman can do for her future is break up with John Bush.
Yeah.
She will go downhill. She'll be a crack whore. And then what happened is every one of them got hot.
Yeah.
And I told my dad, he's like, "Well, did you make you feel better that day?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, that's all I could do.
That's right.
That's all I could do." There's a little bit of bullshit that goes on in this game, you know.
I remember one of my dad's friends. My dad had some friends that were hilarious. I was going through it with, I don't even remember who or when or what, but I'm pretty sure it might have been my ex-wife, but early on, you know, because I don't recall really giving a shit about anybody else in my life. But like, I remember one of his friends saying, "Yeah, I always just picture her taking a shit." Just picture her taking a shit, you know, she's not too good for anybody.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right. That's right.
It's funny.
Yeah. I was like, you know, like there's no more fucking vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think anybody's hot while they're taking a shit? Is that even possible?
Well, there's
like,
when
you
Harold,
know that-
Harold and Kumar scene where they
Yeah.
follow the two hot girls in the bathroom, and
Right.
they have horrible explosions. I'm like, oh shit.
I don't know. There's a scene in Fools Rush In when Salma Hayek is on the toilet that she doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is that Selma Hayek is the greatest thing that God ever created. Selma Hayek is the
You know, starring your
Perfect.
favorite actor, Matthew Perry.
oh god.
Wait. No.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
Wait.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this because of our mental health.
No, wait. I know you hate Friends, but you just don't like his acting also. Because Matthew Perry in West Wing, there's some roles he played. Man.
Yeah.
He was freaking amazing in.
I think that
I set him up.
I have
I understand him not
well
like
Bush knows about Bush knows about this in a way
Schwimmer
like
was good in the Band of
oh
Brothers.
god
Wasn't Schwimmer good in Band of Brothers?
oh
I don't know about that.
Did you see Band of Brothers?
I did. I loved
You
it.
didn't like him in it?
No, I didn't care for him. Maybe I didn't
So-
care for his character
Yeah. He's a dick.
because he was a dick.
well then he did a good job I
Yeah,
guess. But I have two prerequisites for not seeing a movie or a show.
Okay.
One of them is Will Smith, and that was
I can't watch
that
Will
was
Smith.
before the slap.
Yeah, me too.
Bush
I
knew
can't
about-
watch anything with Will Smith.
Bush knew this
Really?
about me. Yes,
I can't.
never liked Will Smith ever.
Huh.
Me neither.
No, especially when he tried to be funny. It was fucking
No,
horrible.
I know. It's
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is horrible. Horrible.
I didn't watch it.
Anyway, I won't. Everything's just too. It's too. He's just corny to me.
yes.
Yeah.
He's corny.
There are some performances where in movies were good enough despite him. Like he's not bad in Legend of Bagger Vance. That's a pretty good movie, and he's not horrible. He's tolerable. Ali's pretty decent.
Ollie's good.
But in general, just it can't. Number two is if it stars a Friends character.
Yeah, I'm not going to see the one with Bruce Willis. That's not. But he was good as a television actor, like West Wing and whatever. He was in so much.
There are some Jennifer Aniston movies that are good despite her.
Okay.
I feel like Derailed is really good.
I don't think I've seen that.
But
She had one that she played this kind of really sad character in a small town that was like, I feel like there was a grocery store she worked at. But it was good.
and she's Office Space,
Very
you know.
Yes.
And then
I don't consider her a big character in that though.
but the
She doesn't
only
make that movie.
yeah. To me, the only actor from that cast that I will watch in anything else at any given time is Lisa Kudrow. I feel like she's actually she's actually talented.
Yeah.
She's pretty amazing. Everybody else makes my fucking skin crawl.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Well, now we're going off on a tangent. Are you aware of the theory that Friends is a complete ripoff of Living Single, which had Queen Latifah?
For white people?
Yes.
I mean, I would buy it. It would only take you to tell me that for 2 seconds, and I believe it just because I hate it so much.
I've seen some videos of the cast in Living Single talking about episodes that they had in their show years before.
That
And
one total
exact replica,
Yeah.
and they were exact replicas that Friends did of the exact.
I'm gonna have I'm actually pretty decent friends with John Hinton,
Oh yeah.
so I could ask him how
Yes.
he feels about that.
Yeah.
Knowing him, I think that he would probably just look at me and be like, man, like he's kind of that guy. He's such a nice guy. But
I know that if you put Dark Side of the Moon on and start at the same time as the Lion Roar,
second
for,
Lion Roar.
for Wizard
Wizard
of
of
Oz,
Oz.
you're
Yeah.
a fucking idiot. I do know that.
I've done it.
It's not. It's not.
I've done
that
it twice.
interesting.
No,
No.
but listen.
It's not that interesting.
Listen. No.
Not that interesting.
Have you done it?
No. Why would you? It's ridiculous.
It's not though. It's not ridiculous. I swear to God. I believe that it's a cosmic coincidence. I think it's a good study into like.
But you ignore all the stuff that isn't linking up, right? The 10 minutes where there is no correlation between the
Right.
song and
Right.
There's a lunatic on the grass. He's in the yard.
Oh. These are my favorite parts of
I-
the pod is when we get to the end where we're
So
absolutely off the rails.
I timed it. I've done it. I did it like 2 or 3 times when I was in college
Jesus.
or around college age. And one time, I swear we timed it perfect. And so this is a thing
Walk
that
me through this again.
okay, so there's this thing. It's supposedly just a coincidence, and Pink Floyd says that they didn't do it on purpose. If you start Wizard of Oz and
The Lion's
hit,
Roar.
yes, the
Second
second roar of the lion,
From
and
the
hit
FGM.
play on Dark Side of the Moon, and watch it on mute, watch the movie on mute, the music syncs with the movie perfectly,
Okay.
right?
And the lyrics sometimes.
Yes, like there's a point where like when Dorothy first sees the Wicked Witch of the West in Oz, they're like black, 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 and it's showing the witch, and they go and blue, blue, and there's Dorothy, just it's like perfect, and you're just like, oh, I fuck you, yeah, like 19-year-old me on shrooms, just fucking holy shit. And then like I remember God, what's that? Like one of the first couple songs, like when it's like
Oh, I don't know.
right, and that's like syncing up. And when it's still black and white, when the witch comes to their house and the gate hits her in the ass, like that first big boom, boom, boom is when the gate hits her in the ass,
Oh, wow.
and we're just like, oh my God,
It's an actual thing.
it's a thing. There's a guy. It was taught in a class. If there's a college
They
professor.
call it the dark side of the rainbow.
Yeah, there's a college professor who like was teaching it in his class. That's how it got to be like a thing.
I love that college professor. It's just like had a night with shrooms and that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I can get paid to teach a class.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do this.
But the thing is, it's a very good like study though, like into like suggestive things and
Sure.
whatever else, like because I remember after doing that, one of my regular things back then was I would just be laying in my room and I had a 6-disc CD changer
Mhm.
and I would just play it on shuffle. There'd be 6 discs in there, plenty of music, right?
Sure.
And I'd be watching my TV on mute while the music played.
Which is cool.
And plenty of times whatever was playing, I could see it like,
see
oh,
that.
like it was going with the TV. So I was like, it's fucking bullshit. But And the thing is, the album's not as long as the movie,
Right.
so like it just stops eventually.
Yeah, what do
Like
you
the
do at the end of the
recording studio going, all right, hit play on the movie now.
Yeah, like the fucking movie's over and they're not even halfway through the movie.
That's
you
really
know,
funny.
the album's
That's
over.
really funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. Let's probably wrap up. John, what do you got going on coming up?
Well, I have some shows, and I forget where they are in Minnesota this weekend, and then holiday parties, and I do the Kyle Dunnigan show Thursday nights. We have the after party. People become members of the Kyle Dunnigan YouTube channel. They can watch that,
All right.
and that's about it right now.
Awesome.
It's a really fun show. It's the evolution of it's been
Well,
fun to watch. It was so there's no Craig's News anymore, right?
Well, we just did a Craig's News live
Did you?
last
Okay.
Thursday, and then we released these Fresh Press of DC. We have we write and create Fresh Press of DC, which is on YouTube. If you go to Kyle Dunnigan's channel, you can see Fresh Press of DC. Their latest episode is Biden tries to convince Taylor Swift to take her tour through all the swing states because it boosts the economy. And she says no, so he clones her with an alien that lives in the White House. And then RFK is like, it's on Bill Maher going, I believe that there are 7 Taylor Swifts currently, and they were trained by an alien in the White House. And he's like, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? And he's like, I'm just asking questions. But anyway, that's what currently. They're fun. They're fun.
It's so fun. Like the whole Kyle's doing a lot of cool shit, and John's a big part of it. So it's fun to watch.
I do remember now. So the first time that Bill and I really kind of did something together was he did a comedy special at the Funny Bone.
Yeah.
And raised money for the company that I was doing.
It was a special event. It was.
Yeah, it was a special event, and you were in it. And I remembered because then when I saw you in Triple Espresso, I kept telling my wife Stacey, I was like, "That was the guy that opened for Bill." You had another guy before that.
No, that was a completely different thing. Yeah, that was.
No, all I remember from that night is the other guy continued to make fun of my shirt all night.
I'm trying to remember who all did that with me.
It was one other guy.
Was it Willie?
It was a younger kid, little bigger guy.
Oh, bigger guy?
Yeah.
Was he black?
No.
It wasn't Doug, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Doug. It was. It could have been that guy. I forget the name of his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Josh Novy?
Yes, Josh. I was gonna say
Nobody's. Do you know Nobody's doing a movie with
Dean Cain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
crazy.
I told him, I remember he was doing churches and stuff back then. And I told him, like, dude, if you can do churches, you'll get rich.
My favorite conversation with Josh Doby, we were in a car, and he's a Christian comic, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you should do Christian comedy, dude. It's great." And I go, "Josh, don't you first ask me if I'm a Christian?"
Yeah. I got a buddy in Florida that is a preacher, and he was an agent for me for a while, a lot of one-nighter stuff. And I'll go stay with him when I go down there. I had run out of t-shirts the week prior, and I went down and he got a hold of his t-shirt guy for me, and I got some shirts made by this place, Well, this is where he went through his church and stuff to get shirts made. These people were members of the church.
It's hilarious.
And so my t-shirts, says the human race is the only species that lets its idiots live a full life. And so they're printing this t-shirt off. And I remember talking to the guy calling me when it was done, and I go, "Oh, cool. So, I'll come and get them to, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, we nice. The world needs more Christian comics, And I was like, well, I don't know about that. And then he was like, "Oh, well," and I go, "Yeah, well, you know, I don't really talk about religion." And then I remember I went and picked up the shirts, and the box said Bill Blank, Christian comedian.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that would be take a picture of that. That's covered. That's the second book.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that was pretty funny. So anyway, yeah, let's.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Appreciate everybody listening.
Christening the bar for the
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah, this was good. So
It's fun.
I'll have to come over and invade some someday. And
Oh, definitely come when the Bears aren't on. You can always watch the Bears.
there you go. That'll work. God
I
knows
might-
nobody wants to watch that shit.
That's why I got a bunch of TVs.
Thanks everybody for listening. We're gonna close out. We're out.
Peace.